Hello guys, this is Grumpy, and today I've got 9 great tips for you. You might be asking why not 10 tips, because I'm too lazy to make the 10th one. So here's 9 great tips for you. Here's a great tip for you. If you place a landmark and then place a redstone torch next to it, it will draw, or it'll shoot a laser beam out 64 blocks in every direction. This is real handy for building quarries, because a quarry can be a maximum size of 64 by 64. And so when you're building a quarry, you do this first step here. Then you walk out to the end of the laser beam, place another one. Then you walk out here, place another one. And then when you right click the landmarks, it'll automatically construct a square 64 by 64. That's the size I like to build my quarries, because the bigger the quarry is, the less often you have to move it. And so that's how I do that. Now here's another cool tip for these things. You can use them to build squares and rectangles with a laser beam. So let's say, for example, I want to build a square floor, and I want this thing to be like 12 by 12. Instead of counting 12 this way and 12 this way, I can put this here and then count 12 blocks diagonally. Let's just say this is 12 blocks diagonally, who cares? Okay, then you can come back here to the beam, place another one, and then all you have to do is right click like that, and there's your 12 by 12 square. So these things are really useful for construction too. Another good use for them is like, let's say you're trying to line 2 items up, but there's a wall in between. The laser beam will go through walls, and so like say I'm in one room right now and there's a wall between here and here. I can walk to the other side and the laser beam will tell me where I'm at. So there's another great tip for you. Here's a tip. You can use this device here. It's called an EU reader to measure the amount of electricity flowing through a wire. So to use it, just put it in your hand, right click, and then wait a few seconds. It's going to measure all the electricity flowing through there and then average it. So we can see we have 1150 EU per tick flowing through a wire. Now EU is a basic energy unit for industrial craft. A tick is a 20th of a second. There's 20 ticks in a second. That's for Tekkit, that's for Feed the Beast, that's for Minecraft. It's actually, a tick is a Minecraft term. So this device here is real handy. It's real easy to craft. It takes a piece of glowstone, an electronic circuit, and 4 copper cables. Okay, here's another tip for transformers. You can use a switch to turn them off and on. Well, actually, it doesn't turn them off and on. It reverses the current flow, but since you got power generation over here and power consumption here, if we reverse the flow, basically nothing happens. So let's verify that. Here's our HV transformer again. We'll take a reading. As you can see right now, we still got our 1150 EU per tick flowing through there. Let me flip this switch right here though, and we'll take a couple more readings. There you go. You can see we got 0 EU per tick going through there now. So this is really handy if you're low on power or something like that, or you just want to be able to turn stuff off and on. You can do it with transformers. Here's a good tip for you, something you may not have known about. You can use the mini map to find slime chunks. Now you may not know what a slime chunk is. Slimes can only spawn in certain chunks, so if you're hunting slime balls, it's not going to do any good to look for them unless it's a slime chunk. So here's how we can find them. Hit the M key to bring up the mini map options. You click surface map options, and you can hit enable down here at the very bottom. It says show slime chunks, and that's going to show slime chunks on the mini map. Now here's another pro tip. Hit the X key and it'll bring up this map, and as you see these red squares, that are places that slime chunks are at. So now if you look on the left side of the edge of the screen, you can see there's slime chunks clustered together. That would be a great place to build a spawner or a mob grinder. So if you want slime balls, this is the way you do it. Now, a slime has to be in a slime chunk to spawn, but in a swamp biome, they will spawn on the surface, but anywhere else, they will only spawn below level 40. Now, the light level doesn't matter, so what you can do is go to slime chunk, go down to at least level 40, hollow a room out, throw a bunch of torches down. That will keep all mobs from spawning except for slimes. Slimes can spawn in light, but it has to be in a slime chunk below level 40. So that's an easy way to make a slime ball grinder or slime grinder to get slime balls. Okay, here's another something for beginner players. Now, if you've been playing for a little while, you've been messing around with the basic machines like macerator, electric furnace, extractor and stuff, you know that if you break them with a pick, it'll destroy the machine. And so you probably know already that you got to use a bronze wrench to pick them up. So what you do is you select the wrench, you right click, it'll break the block and you can walk up to it and pick it up. That's great, except this wrench has a small chance of breaking the machine. If it's a really expensive machine, you definitely do not want that to happen. So you can use this item here. It's called an electric wrench. It's very easy to craft. Basically, you take this wrench. Let me just show it to you. It's not hard at all. You take that wrench. It's got to be full durability. It won't work with a partial one. Electronic circuit and a rebattery. And it'll make an electric wrench, and you just charge it in any kind of storage device. It doesn't use much. It doesn't hold much electricity. But it has a couple of advantages. First of all, it doesn't ever break. It just runs out of juice, and you got to go recharge it. But second thing is it's got a deal called lossless mode. Let me show this to you. Basically, I hold down my mode switch key and right click. It'll change it to lossless mode. There it says lossless wrench mode disabled. Right click again with the mode switch key down and it'll change it to lossless wrench mode enabled. Now with that lossless mode enabled, it will never break one of your machines. The drawback is it uses more electricity when you're in lossless mode, but it's worth it because you don't want to break a machine. Now here's one other thing to note. By default, the mode switch key is the letter M on your keyboard, but that key also brings up the mini map, so you're going to have to remap one of them. Now what I did is I remapped that lossless mode key to the period key, so when I want to switch modes, I hold down the period key and just click just like that. So now how do we change that? We go into controls, or we go into options, controls, and we scroll down to mode switch key, and I got it there. You can see right there I got to remap the period key. So to change it, just click it and click whatever key you want to map it to, but definitely recommend getting an electric wrench. Okay, here's another cool thing for beginners. We're going to go over machine upgrades, and by that I'm not talking about upgraded versions of the machine. In other words, I'm not talking about tearing this machine down and replacing it with a better machine. What I'm talking about is these over here. These are called upgrades. You got overclocker upgrades, energy storage upgrades, and transformer upgrades, and we'll briefly go over each one. The first one we're going to go over is the overclocker. But the overclocker, what it does, speeds the machine up. So if I put some cobblestone in here, it's going to start macerating it, but it goes pretty slow. You can see it. It's like watching an egg boil. But as I start adding overclockers in there, you're going to see the machine speed up. So there's 5 overclockers. You can see it's much quicker. But let's put all 11 in there, or all 9 in there. You can see it's much faster now. So overclockers are really great. They do have a disadvantage though. Every time you add an overclocker, the amount of electricity the machine needs goes up exponentially. The speed goes up exponentially, but so does the power consumption. I believe it's like 70-80%. So by default, I think the macerator only draws 1 or 2 EU, but every time you add an overclocker, that goes up exponentially. And if you ever want to know how much electricity is going through the machine, what you can do is right click the machine, wait a few seconds, and click it again. It will tell you how much power the machine's consuming. So with 11 overclockers, it's consuming 139 EU per tick. So if I added even more overclockers, you'd see it go up even more. So you want to be a little conservative with them at first. When you first start playing, when you just got 1 or 2 generators, you might only want to put 2 or 3 or 4 in here. But as you get your power grid established, like you got solar panels or geothermal generators or whatever, you can slowly start adding more overclockers and play around with your power grid. Experiment. If you run out of electricity, take some of them out. If you got excess electricity, like all your storage units are always full, you might think about adding more. But again, that's the overclocker. Next we have an energy storage upgrade. Now these aren't something you're going to use at first, but basically let me explain what they are and why you need them. They increase, every machine has an internal storage capacity, and what the energy storage upgrade does is increases that internal storage. Now here's why it needs that. Now when you get around 11 or 12 overclockers in the machine, you'll see this power bar right here starts flickering. This is showing you the machine's internal storage, but just because it's flickering, it doesn't mean that the power grid's not keeping up. What it could mean is that the machine itself does not have enough internal storage. And so here's the way it works. When you got a lot of overclockers, the machine itself, it does not pull power out of the power grid. It pulls it out of its internal storage. So the way it works, the cable feeds the internal storage feeds the machine. And so if you see this bar start flickering, what happens is the machine needs more power than the internal storage can handle. So you put one energy storage upgrade in there and it fixes that problem. You never have to put any more in there. You can, but you don't have to. Finally, we have the transformer upgrade. Now what that's for is for running the machines at higher voltages. By default, all the machines run at low voltage. If you hook them up to an MFE or an MFSU, they will instantly explode. So if you want to run them on medium voltage or high voltage, you got to put these transformer upgrades in here. So when you're first starting off, you're probably going to have all your machines maybe going through a bat box. Well, bat box puts out low voltage. If you put them on an MFE, an MFE directly, they have to have a transformer upgrade because that's medium voltage. If you run them off an MFSU, you need 2 transformer upgrades. So once again, with no upgrades, this machine can handle low voltage. With 1 transformer upgrade, it can handle medium voltage, and with 2, it can handle high. And finally, with 3, it can handle extreme. This machine can run pretty much, you're done, that's it. You can run this thing off straight off a nuclear reactor or a fusion reactor, whatever. But anyway, that's the 3 type of upgrades. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments, because I know that right there is a pretty technical subject. Here's a great tip that was given to me by a viewer. If you have something like a hobbyist steam engine or anything that requires water to operate, you can place this block right next to it. It's called an aqueous accumulator. So let's go ahead and look at the recipe for that. It's very straightforward. You need a bucket, a couple pieces of tin, a couple pieces of glass. Very easy to craft. All this stuff's very easy. You'll need a little bit of gold, glass, and iron, just basic stuff. But to get it to work, you just place it next to whatever needs the water. Now this thing puts out water on all 5 sides, every side but the front. Doesn't require any electricity or anything to run. So if we actually click on this hobby steam engine, we can see it filling up right here. So this thing's just pulling water out of thin air and filling this engine up. Also too, if you place this thing in water or put water next to it, it speeds it up. So basically what's going to happen right now is it's going to fill this up, and once it's full, has its own internal storage and it will fill this up. Okay, here's a great tip for new players. It's about a block called a world anchor. If you're not familiar with it, this is a good explanation of it. What does a world anchor do? Well, it keeps an area of memory loaded. So memory is divided up in Minecraft into what they call chunks. A chunk is an area of 16 blocks long by 16 blocks wide. So as you walk forward, Minecraft's loading the chunks in front of you and unloading the chunks behind you. It's just to conserve memory. Minecraft, your computer can't handle having an entire world loaded at one time, so this is what Minecraft does to keep your computer from bogging down. Well, normally it's fine for chunks to unload. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't matter, but it didn't matter in vanilla Minecraft either. But in Feed the Beast and Tekkit and Technic and all these mods, you have automation. So you have ore processors and all that kind of thing. You want those things to keep going all the time. You don't want them to stop. So this is why you put this world anchor down. I have a world anchor right here in the floor of my house, and it's keeping my entire house loaded into memory, or most of my house. It's close to all the machinery, so it's keeping all the machinery loaded. But basically, with a world anchor, it keeps an area of 3 by 3 chunks loaded into memory at one time. So here you can see 9 blocks. They're in a 3 by 3 pattern. Now these 9 blocks represent chunks. So as you can see, there's a grand total of 9 chunks. The world anchor would be centered right in the very middle. So whenever you plop down a world anchor, you're basically keeping this whole area loaded into memory. And this area is 48 blocks long by 48 blocks wide. And so as long as any of your machinery is inside this 3 by 3 area, you're safe. And so that's a great way to keep your machines running all the time. Now, you used to have to put these down at quarries too, because quarries wouldn't stay loaded in memory. But quarries automatically stay loaded in memory. If you've built the quarry and Feed the Beast yet, you might have seen a message saying something like so many chunks staying loaded now, or something like that. Like it'll say something like 9 chunks force loaded into memory. I'll forget the exact message, but that's what that message means. When you put the quarry down, Minecraft's going to keep those chunks loaded even when you walk away from the quarry, just to make sure the quarry stays running. So how do we craft this? Very simple. Oh, it's not a hard recipe, but it does take a couple high-end ingredients. You'll need a couple diamonds, And ender pearls, those are kind of hit or miss. You just got to go outside and not hunting. It could take you several Minecraft days to get one, or you could get lucky and find 2 or 3 in one night. So it's one of them kind of things, but nothing's extremely difficult. It's not going to be something you're going to build in the first day or two. As a matter of fact, there's no reason to put a world anchor unless you have automation. The whole purpose of having this world anchor at your house is to make sure that your machinery stays running. But if you're on that first day or two and you just got your basic stone furnace and you're just cooking a little wood or to make charcoal, there's no reason to have a world anchor. But later on, when you get a little automation, you will definitely want to get a world anchor. Very great blocks, very handy. It's going to increase your resource production by quite a bit, so you can go into remote locations, go caving and all kinds of stuff, and they'll stay loaded. Now you also want to put those down anywhere where there's like an oil well. If you got an oil well way off in the distance, you put them there too. But anyway, that's the world anchor, very handy block. Here's another cool thing you can do inside Feed the Beast. You can make digital clocks. There's one right there. Now they're showing the Minecraft time, so it's 8:52 in the morning in Minecraft, so it's just a couple hours after the sun came up. But I have a tutorial to show you how to do this. I'll put a annotation. Just click on the annotation. It'll pause this video and open up the tutorial in a new window. Very brief tutorial, very easy to do, but go ahead and check it out if you want to learn how to do this. Alright, there's 9 tips for you. I hope you found 1 or 2 of them useful. If you have any questions about anything you saw in this video, just leave a question in the comments and then I'll try to answer it if I can. I don't mind answering questions. I enjoy talking to you guys. And if you ask me a question, if I know the answer, I'll answer it. If I don't know the answer, I will try to look for the answer. Or if I can't find the answer, I'll let you know one way or the other. But also pretty appreciate anybody who likes the video, because that lets me know I'm on the right track and I need to make more videos of this type. And finally, thanks for watching. And by the way, if you want to share this video on Facebook or Twitter, feel free to. Helps my channel. The more my channel grows, the more videos I'll make. But anyway, this is Grumpy. We will see you next time.